This is Providence Television International, the toast of today's television viewers. Don't be left out.
Thanks for staying tuned to Providence Television International, the game changer. This is the interview segment on the morning drive. And my name is Ugbebo Ikikwa, and we'll be in the studio is the Chief Executive Officer, Providence Television International, Dr. Emmanuel Egariwa. You're welcome to the program.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much. And thanks also to our viewers across the world.
Well, just before we delve into the topic of the day, although I think normally you should know what we'll be discussing today, youth migration to foreign countries. But there's quite a topic that I know that most journalists would really be interested in. Dr. Emmanuel Egariwa will throw light on remembering Dele Giwa.
Well, not just journalists. I think Nigerians would love to remember him, and for good. Okay, Dele Giwa, a frontline journalist, one of the best we've ever had in this country. Brilliant, active, intelligent, brilliant young man who passed away 38 years ago today. He died on October 19, 1986, right? And they founded Newswatch. That's a copy of Newswatch by his side there. He founded the Newswatch magazine, and it was instant success. Okay, and he was also the editor, remember, of Concord, the defunct Concord. Dele Giwa died at the age of 37. He was such a young man, cut out completely at his prime. And that was during what was the head of state then? I think it was General Ibrahim Babangida. Okay, was the military president at the time. We have continued to remember him, not just for his intellectual capacity, but also because he led the pathway. You know, many journalists took after him long after he was gone, and we thank God for his life. It was short-lived, but he achieved a lot within that period. He went to one of the best universities in the United States. He went to Brooklyn in New York, and he came from a very humble background. But by dint of hard work and determination, he rose to the pinnacle of his career to establish a major news outfit, Newswatch magazine, which was number one then, apparently. So we'll continue to remember him. Unfortunately, I've gone through most of the papers today. I don't think it's occupied any major place in some of the newspapers. Well, for whatever reason. But we are remembering him, even though it's not a milestone event. I mean, it's 38 years. Well, you're talking about 40 years, all right. But 38 years, why not? He should have been an old man, a very old man by now. Yeah. He was alive. But thank God he has some kids, 3 kids. It's at the time of his passing. And we'll continue to remember him for all he stood for. He stood for the truth. He stood for excellence in professionalism. He stood for courage. Yes, he was quite courageous. And that is why people will always tie him down to things that are totally in agreement with the tenets of journalism in this country. Because the truth of the matter is, he has remained a beacon. So if you want to talk about brilliance and excellence in broadcasting, in journalism, your mind must race to Dele Giwa. Yes.
Well, one of the topics we'll be discussing in subsequent editions of our interview session would actually be the hazards that journalists actually face in this country. Incidentally, we do not have anything like insurance for the welfare of journalists in this country. Yes,
that is left for the various organizations like the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria and even BORN, Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria. But I think it's on the table, really. The Media Council, for example. These are organizations that should be thinking seriously about this. Dele Giwa, remember, was killed by a parcel bomb.
Yes.
And till today, the mystery has not been unraveled. We're still waiting. Maybe one day, someday, the truth eventually will still come out, and we'll get to know who perpetrated that evil act. But yes, you are right. Insurance because the jobs are very hazardous.
Exactly.
Yes. Journalists are battered right, left, and center for very spurious reasons. Okay. You remember Decree number 2? Yes. Thompson and my good friend Irabo, they were incarcerated for such a long time.
Exactly.
And eventually they were released, but they went through hell.
Yes.
With Decree number 2. Right. So those draconian laws should not exist. Okay. And we should not pray that we even have civilian administration that will toe the line of that kind of template. So I say congratulations to brothers in the journalism profession. Please keep doing what you are doing and keep sticking to excellence.
All right, we'll move straight to the main topic of the day, youth migration to foreign countries. What is actually happening? We've had this gradual drift of Nigerian youths, and it is said that the youths are the strength of a nation. We're now moving to other nations. What are those factors that you can pinpoint as the major causes?
Whether there are some that one will readily put his fingers on, one, the economy will play a big role in this. The economy, when it's harsh, people want to find a safe haven somewhere else. That's one major reason why people will have to migrate to other countries. Another reason is sheer adventure. All right, people just want to go into the unknown, for example. But people, by and large, they're involved in what we call escapism. They want to leave the shores of this country for better climes. That perhaps is the main reason. But they are fleeing in great numbers. That's my worry. And this has happened over time. It didn't start yesterday or 2 days ago. It started years before now. And the reason is young people are finding it difficult to cope with everyday urgent survival in this country. But I think we must address those issues continuously to make life bearable or more bearable for the young ones. Old people, people of our generation, they do not migrate unnecessarily. It is the young ones, and you are right to have said that, yes, they occupy the production segment of the society. And you'll find them in Europe, you'll find them in Asia, you'll find them in North America, particularly in the US and Canada. They are moving every day. In fact, there was a story the other day that the number of Nigerians in Belgium has overwhelmed the Belgian authorities. Many of them are sleeping on the streets. That's the sad aspect of it. It's not as if they always find the greener pastures everywhere. But again, because of the element of escapism, they are leaving Nigeria because they cannot cope anymore. But if we fix maybe 3 or 4 things, I've always said that if Nigerian government can fix just 3 things, people will not leave this country. Fix security, fix power, and then fix food production. Yes, they won't. Where would they be going to? Yes. Where would they be going to? Particularly power. Because they can start their own business. If you have 24/7 of electricity, people will start their own businesses, no matter how small. But you cannot because of the excruciating pains that they have to go through.
Okay, the issue of youth migration, especially, let us tie it a little to sports. We see this situation where we have Nigerians, we have athletes, especially, that bear Nigerian names. They are actually Nigerians, but they've been able to move over there. What is the Ministry of Sports actually doing? I know this is a kind of your turf. What do you think? Is the Ministry of Sports doing enough to curb this tendency?
Not just sports, but I'll come back to sports. What are pilgrimages? Yes, only pilgrimage to Mecca, Medina, and maybe to Jerusalem. They escape from there. They have done that many, many times. They escape, But coming back to sports, yes, and the question you should be asking is, what makes them leave? First of all, they are not getting their dues. And they look at their counterparts elsewhere, and they say they have been shortchanged. For instance, they are not getting their dues in terms of the right environment, in terms of the right equipment, in terms of the ability to cope with everyday living. Yes. Some of our sports people, they are old salaries by some of the state governments. Even federal sometimes. They go to international competitions and months after they are still owing them their allowances. So at every opportunity when they travel out like that, you see them parleying with other countries. Of course, they discuss, as sports people, they discuss with others. Yes, we'll probably now encourage them to leave their own country and come over. All right, that one is there. It's obvious. But we must also look at the issue of scouting.
Okay.
Scouting is very prevalent. Because for any major international tournament, you have scouts all over the place. They come to watch games like football, basketball, and all of that. And when they spot some potential, they approach them. In fact, our sportsmen and women do not have to approach those people. The scouts approach them. It happens in football, it happens in basketball, it happens in swimming, for example. It even happens in cycling. So they pick them and take them to their own countries, and they give them scholarships. This is very regular in a country like the United States. Yes. I don't want to read all the names, but they give them scholarships. And a lot of our Nigerian sportsmen and women have benefited from this process. A lot, many people. And once they cross over, they don't want to come back. Right. During the Olympics, you hear Nigerian names competing for Korea. Yes, competing for Jamaica. Competing for, all kinds of countries. And you say, this is a Nigerian. But he doesn't wear the green, white, green colors. He wears another color, meaning that he's more comfortable over there. All right. So it's a painful thing, but government must address some of those issues to ensure that we keep them back at home and make them feel a sense of belonging. Right.
All right. You mentioned escapism, and that's moving over for better climes. In Nigeria today, is there an enabling environment for the youths?
No, youth development is also part of good leadership. Why? Because they form the greatest portion of the electorate when it's time for election. Young people. But we must engage them. If we don't engage them, then they engage themselves. That's the danger. If you don't find something for them to engage them properly, they engage themselves. And there are lots and lots of things we can do in this country to engage the young ones. Okay? Soft loans, for instance, to start their own businesses. I'm happy now that in the university there's a core course called entrepreneurship. They go through it, meaning that the university system is encouraging young people to have a head start in life as a result of business opportunities. But we must give them loans to start. Loans as little as 1 million, 2 million, with no strings attached. A lot of people are willing, a lot of our young people are willing to do that, okay? Just to start something. Can't you see barbing salons all over the place? And they're making out a living, all right, no matter how small. But the problem again is, before you start that, the first thing you buy is a generator because you're not sure of public supply. We shouldn't be, really. Even for a young girl who should have been to prostitution, she has some little money from maybe a sister or brother in Italy. Oh, we want you to start a salon business. She's not thinking of the what do you call it?
The hairdressers and all the equipment.
The heat. Is it heater they call it? I don't remember the exact name now. This thing you use in heating up the hair.
Okay.
The dryer.
The dryers. Okay.
Yes. She's not thinking of that. First of all, the first thing she thinks of is a small generator, which takes its toll because she has to fuel that on a daily basis. So it's a terrible situation we are in, and I hope that government will have a rethink. The Ministry of Youth is not doing enough at all.
Okay.
Yes, it's not doing enough, both at federal and state. Not doing enough. Well, we may think of Edo State where we have things like Edo Best and all of that, but how far-reaching has it been? I look at one area that would be useful to the young ones. We don't have regular supply of electricity. What are solar panels?
Okay.
Why can't government establish some industries to train young ones who can manufacture solar panels on their own? By the way, when these things get cheap, solar panels for electricity, we won't have any dealings with NEPA or whatever. We won't have any dealings with them anymore. The same thing has happened in the water sector. Nobody remembers water board now anymore because there are young people now who have gone into drilling.
Yes.
For example,
Yes.
they drill and they make their money. There is no house now in Benin. At least 7 out of 10 houses, you have borehole. And that's because a lot of people have been trained there. They are skilled. We're not talking about waterboard anymore. No, we are not. I suppose the same thing should happen with electricity. I should think that, yes, there must be alternatives to NEPA. Once there's an alternative, a very viable alternative, then that takes your mind off this trouble that we go through on a daily basis. And young people can be trained for that. Yes, and there are so many, there are so many areas in which young people can excel without thinking of going outside this country. And you ask yourself, they want to go outside this country, what are the main reasons? I've mentioned them.
Exactly.
Once security is in place, once they can have regular power supply, and once there is food security, what are they going to do in Europe? Some of them are exposed to inclement weather, very harsh cold conditions. Whereas in Nigeria, the best weather you can find in the world. Even during the rainy season, you have the sun up there because we're in the tropics.
Exactly.
Yes, so they won't be anxious to go abroad.
Even
But the real danger is
Mm.
those who have gone abroad now, they don't want to come back. And the question they ask is, what am I coming back home to do? Yes, the environment is not safe for them. So they just stay put in Europe. They spend all their lives in Europe and America. They don't want to come back. I'm not even talking of Asia. Right.
Well, let us delve a little into the economy, especially the CBN. Are the policies of the CBN, especially when it comes to loans, friendly for the youths?
That's what I said now. That's what I said. That there must be loan facilities for these young people.
At 27%?
That's not what I'm saying. I said almost interest-free.
Okay.
When it's almost interest-free, it means that you're talking about maybe 1-2%. It happened before in this country. When you reduce to about 2%, that's almost interest-free. So you don't think of repaying. That does not become your headache. Your headache now would be how to tackle your business head-on. And the banks should be held liable in this direction. You go to average commercial bank now, they tell you 27%, whereas it's not 27%. By the time they put all their charges together, you're talking about 35-40%. Okay? It is not good for business, and it is not good for young people who want to go into entrepreneurship. They are willing. I know Nigerian youths. They are very, very willing to go into entrepreneurship. But where's the opportunity for them to do this? They are willing. I mean, there are many young people I know who probably read. In fact, there's a friend of mine who has a son who read pharmacy. Today, he read pharmacy from one of the universities. Today, he has a company that does solar panel. And he's making his money quite. That's why I mentioned solar panel, because I'm privy to this. Yes. With an intensity to produce more, NEPA will no longer be a problem. We'll have an alternative. Okay? Even solar bulbs. Right. Can't you see what is happening now? Every home you go to now, there are solar bulbs, you know. Yeah. So, and they do not consume too much electricity. The same thing should happen with solar panels. Once you have them in large quantities, NEPA, their truancy will go down considerably. All
right, just before we go, we've seen a situation where even those, it cannot really be managed as Nigerians moving in droves. It has to be a systematic thing. But we even see a situation where they are subjected to very inhuman treatments. I wouldn't want to call some of the countries, but even close in Africa, here, where they are killed, maimed. And the Nigerian government never ever seems to do anything about that as regards diplomatic relations.
Well, most countries have this tendency, I must tell you. Many years ago, Ghanaians were subjected to this kind of treatment here in Nigeria. Yes, eventually we told them, oh, Ghana must go. That's where, if you have a big bag now, they call it Ghana must go. Because that's what the Ghanaians were using to pack their belongings in those days. Until they now went back. And it became a major challenge to the government in power in Ghana. Today, Nigerians are running to Ghana. Yes, even sending children to school in Ghana. And in any case, Ghana has one of the best secondary schools on the continent. You're talking about one of the universities, the one in Legon. One of the best universities in Africa, in Ghana. Okay? So, but we must do some retrospection and reflection on some of these issues. The other day, South Africa drove our boys and girls away because they were disturbing their own businesses. Nigerians are very innovative, by the way. They go into one place and they take over. Right. That's what happened in South Africa when we had this xenophobia issue, and a lot of them came back. But some of those people have gone back again to South Africa. They said they cannot cope. Why? Because there's no electricity supply. I used to have a tenant in this house. He just disappeared. The parents were looking for him. He didn't tell anybody. And then during the xenophobia issue, he came back. I said, Sonny, where have you been? He said, Daddy, I went to South Africa. You did not tell your parents, you did not tell your grandmom, because they were all very anxious. So I now persuaded him to stay back. He stayed back for about, I think, a month or two. Then he came back to me one day and said, Daddy, I'm going back to South Africa. I said, why? He said for 1 year that he was in South Africa, there was no power outage one day. No power outage. It was on the outskirts of Soweto, all right, in South Africa.
Outskirts?
Outskirts of Soweto. Not even in Soweto, not even in Joburg, not even in Pretoria. That would tell you exactly what I'm talking about. He said he was going back. Nobody could hold him. Today he's back again to South Africa.
Okay.
Right. So we must have opportunities to retain our young ones through the instrumentality of these three things that I've talked about. Make the environment livable for them. Nigerian youths are innovative, for crying out loud. They are innovative. Can't you see what they are doing abroad? Yes. They get to Europe and they become champions. Even in the US, they become champions because they have the vitality. You know, I mentioned the name of the young man the other day who is now being picked up to China. You know, mentioned him on this same program. So, and there are millions of Nigerians who are scattered all over the world who do not want to come back. And the question they ask is, what am I going to meet? Yes, it's a valid question, and we must address those questions tenaciously.
All right. Well. That's been quite informative. We hope that everything really actually turns out for the best. Much sooner than we think in this country. Just before we go, Dr. Gariba has something for us.
No, not really much. To close it up now, we have a little advert from Providence Properties. That's our closing point. If you want to buy and sell, reach out to us. Estate developers, we're into that. Property management, we're also into that. So Providence Properties being exposed on Providence Television. That, I think, is a hallmark, and I thank the good Lord for it. So on behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you to our viewers who have remained so faithful to us, very faithful indeed, and I'm happy that Providence Television International is their choice.
We remain the game changer. Simply go to YouTube and type in Providence Television International and you are good to go. Thanks for watching. Please stay tuned.